Have you ever had a near-death experience? Or perhaps someone you know may have had a near-death experience? Well, if so, we would love to hear your story and have you as a guest on our podcast. For more information, visit NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world. We would love to hear your story.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast, where we explore the magical, mystical, and spiritual world of near-death experiences. And now, Ashton Lewis and Daphne Lynn.
Welcome back to the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and I have with me my lovely hostess, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Daphne. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic, of course. Yeah.
Yay, that's always good to hear.
Yeah,
I love the
yeah.
enthusiasm, yeah.
Well, I am always enthusiastic. I love doing what we're doing.
Me too.
However, I have to put in a disclaimer that today's topic is not really something to be very enthusiastic about.
Right.
Because it hits more on the...
sadder.
It hits below the belt.
Yeah.
On the human emotion scale, you know, and we're going to get into that here in just a few moments here. But for those of you who are new, we are a NDE World Podcast. You can get more information about who we are and what we do at our website, and that is NDE.world.
That's NDE.world.
Absolutely. So feel free to go check it out. Okay, so now today's subject, like we had mentioned earlier, it's not a very comfortable subject to talk about. However, it is a subject that many people do bring up in a lot of the discussion groups and, you know, things like that. We want to have a couple of different, NDE reviews from people who has actually been through this experience of this topic. And I'm fixing to share with you guys what it is.
And so many of us have been affected by this.
Yes, so many. So
I know I have been.
Me as well. Many
Multiple times. Yeah.
Absolutely. So without further ado, today's subject is suicide. All right. So what exactly is suicide, Miss Daphne? You want to jump in? I mean, most people it's pretty much common sense.
We know what it is, yeah.
More in depth, just what causes it? Why do people have to go through these things? I mean, maybe some different perspectives before we actually start getting into some of these actual real life experiences.
Right. I mean, the variations of reasons for suicide are tremendous. I mean, the people that I have been affected by, I would have never in a million years thought that they would have done something like that they would have taken their own life. So it came as a shock, and I do believe most of us are not aware of what others are really going through.
I think that's the key right there. You don't know.
You're right.
What another person is going through. You really don't. Most of us don't even know what we're going through on our own day-to-day lives, and you have to be really focused to really make things happen on a daily. But other than that, it'll get you thinking.
The variations are like I said, tremendous, and there's no one set reason for it. No. I mean, it really is. A lot of it is just impulse, and some of it is pre-planned.
Yeah, it's definitely starts. Well, of course, like everything else, it's definitely something in the mind. Yeah, all things start in the mind.
A lot could be from mental issues. I mean, we just
correct.
really
it
don't
could be mental.
know.
Which, if it's mental, if it's mental, it could be any a million other influences. If it's mental, it could be medications, it can be drugs, it can be just something within that person's own makeup or something. I don't know. It could be diet. You can have and be on an improper diet and live with depression and not even know what's causing the depression. That everything is affected.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. And I've always really been led, I guess, from media to believe, and I've always believed this, that suicides are at the highest through Christmas time, through
Or
the
end of
winter
holidays.
seasons.
I've always heard that too.
And
But stats
in
prove
doing
it
the
otherwise.
research for this episode, that is not the case. The most popular months, if you can call it popular months, most common months for suicide are April, May, and June, which is in the spring.
Wow.
It's not the cold winter months like media leads us to believe.
And from my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the majority is younger male, from the stats that I have looked into.
Yes, it is more common for men
Yeah.
to commit suicide than women.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
So let's go into it a little bit deeper here. So when we look at suicide, a lot of people think of someone taking their own, what we call life. And with that thought in mind of someone actually, taking their own life, let's take a closer look at life. And if you look at life, can't be killed. Life can't be taken. Life, how do I say this? We have to understand that we're more than these bodies. Okay, now yes,
Right.
the body being made of matter, okay,
Right.
and
The
elements and
physical
things
form
like that.
only.
Yes, and it doesn't die. It can't. This body, nothing dies. When the body goes back to the earth, it breaks down. It turns into this and that, and it feeds other things, and it all breaks down back to Mother Earth. I mean, nothing really truly dies in the truest sense. Even if
Right.
someone really
And
commits suicide.
Right, and that's what we have learned from listening to so many of these experiences, is that life it continues on. The physical form here has to stop, but our spirit continues on. Our soul continues on. I mean, there's books out there on this topic from an NDEer's perspective. You Are Deathless by Nicole Kerr is one of those that I have read, and there's so much information in these about the afterlife. There's so much that's changed in these people's lives from learning that, we don't die because we are life.
Which is kind of why I really wanted to bring that up in the front, is to kind of, and it doesn't make it any easier. I know it doesn't.
No, it
but
doesn't.
If we can just set the stage to understand that the person's not dead, the person's not gone, the person didn't take their life, They may have
Right.
transitioned and ended this actual incarnation or this existence that, that we're aware of, but they're still alive. And well,
yeah. And loss of a loved one or a friend, family is never easy on any of us. That we are going to go through that grieving process. I still grieve, even though I know what I know about life. That soul that continues on, it doesn't make it any easier for my lost loved ones.
Right.
So you still going to have that loss of the wanting to connect with
That
the material,
reality
the
factor.
physical, the human form of that soul.
Yeah. So all of this and everything and nothing is going to make you feel any better until you are ready to feel better. Okay, because that feeling belongs to you, and you're going to mourn the loss of that loved one different than maybe the next person or the other person or whatever. So we all
Yeah.
experience this.
My mother-in-law told me when I lost my son, because she's lost a son as well, she told me, she said, you will never get over it, but you learn to live with it. And that is so true. The words are very, very true. Very wise woman.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom there. Okay, so before we get into this first clip here in a moment, in case you either know somebody that has even hinted around to suicide, or maybe
Suffering
somebody
from
that's
depression,
or maybe showing some signs and you're very concerned with them, we want to go ahead and share a few numbers with you guys. Or maybe if you've actually lost someone to suicide and maybe just looking for some kind of relief, we're going to go ahead and give you a couple of numbers that maybe can give you some direction or something to maybe ease your hearts and minds.
Right.
And then we'll go ahead and jump into today's clip. How's that?
Right. Yes, that sounds good. Because each of these numbers that I have here is for the survivors as well as those that may be contemplating such an action. So one of the main number, the quickest number to remember is 988, and that leads us to the Suicide Awareness Hotline. Another way is the text crisis line. It's a little chat. You text the word HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and that is available 24/7. So also all of these lines are available 24/7. And then another one is 800-442-HOPE, which is 4673. So yeah, if you're suffering from depression, just want to talk to somebody, can't talk to your family, you feel like you'll be judged for whatever reason, reach out to someone that can, lighten your load, maybe give you a different perspective on things and make you feel heard and loved, because you are so loved.
And yes, and always keep in mind, if you see these changes in these loved ones or friends or family members or anyone that you know, and your spirit will let you know, something's going on, and
right.
If you got that sense of concern, this is something you do not want to put off, guys. Well, let's go ahead, and what we do here on the NDE World Podcast is a lot of times we will do reviews from actual individuals who actually had near-death experiences. And today's episode is a special episode that we're going to be leaning more towards those who have actually attempted suicide and was actually able to come back and tell their story. So, and what we do is we actually go into those experiences and we look for what we call nuggets of wisdom, spirituality, things that we can take as, humans or in this realm, and be able to apply it and share it with others as well.
Yes, yes. And there's beauty in every one of these accounts for me, and I hope that the listener out there can gain knowledge and wisdom from these as well, because there's much wisdom in these accounts.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And speaking of loving it, we do have some episodes coming up. We're getting the scheduling in the works for some more live interviews.
Oh, yes. We've got
Yes.
some really awesome people coming on. So, guys, stay tuned for that for sure. Absolutely. I can't wait. I don't want any spoiler alerts out there. So
I know. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm enjoying speaking with these people about this. So thank you guys for listening and wanting to be a part of this and helping us to grow the station, grow the channel.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into today's first clip. How's that sound, Miss Daphne?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, and we are rolling.
When I was in my 30s, I became very depressed. Eventually it took me over completely and I decided to commit suicide. I took large doses of medication and went to bed. Eventually this stopped my body from working and I crossed time/space to another dimension. I looked up and heard a voice saying, "I will give you 2 coins, use them wisely." 2 coins fell in my hand and I looked at them for a while. Then I closed my hand. I looked in front of me and saw great water stretching to the horizon as far as I could see. A memory from my childhood came back to me from a game that I and the children from my neighborhood used to play. It was the song we always sang before the game eventually started. This is my translation of it in English. Sailor, may I cross the water? Yes or no? Do I have to pay a penny? Yes or no? How? Then I thought that this must be the river Styx and I must cross it. I started to sing the song and after a while, I could see a boat slowly coming towards me with someone standing in it. He reached the beach and I looked at him and him at me. A bony hand then stretched out to me. Instinctively, I knew that I must give him a coin. So I did. He held the coin up, looked at it, and then looked at me. He nodded to me and then his hand made the gesture for me to step into the boat. So I did. I don't know how long I was in the boat, but I know I was thinking about my life. The bony sailor didn't say anything. He slowly moved his staff in the water, making us go further and further away from the beach. I stood up and looked around the horizon to see if I could see the other shore. I couldn't see anything but water. I sat down and started thinking again. I looked at the bony sailor and he nodded again. His finger pointed up and then he made a movement with his hands as if he balanced something. I looked up and thought about how to get up and how to get to heaven, because I had a strong feeling I belonged there. I felt that it was the path and journey I had to make. Oh God, I thought. I know I thought too much about myself and that I did good and wrong things. But all I really want now is to go to your light. A faint light opened up in the sky and a voice said, "You are very close to achieving this goal." But it was not what he wanted to hear. Then I thought that this suicide and everything that happened before it was all about me complaining about the why me factor. You know, the why me? I always used to chat with God. I hoped I would get an answer, but it always made me feel worse because I didn't get an answer. I realized it's not because I didn't get an answer, it's because I didn't ask the right question. I thought, I must be terribly wrong all this time. Where had I gone wrong? Then suddenly it all came to me. It was not, why me, it was the complete opposite of it. It was precisely you, in Dutch, juist jig. Everything that happened to me happened for the sole reason that this was my journey I had to take to eventually get to this point. A heaviness fell from me and I finally accepted everything. Above all, I accepted myself. Then 2 angels came down and lifted me. I felt so pure, as light if itself, being so close to these magical beings. I can only remember a few things from the conversation we had. "Are you ready for your journey into the light?" they asked. My answer was a profound yes, because being so close to the 2 angels gave me back my courage and self-esteem. I cried and one of the angels said, "Beautiful tears to fill up the water." The other one asked, "You're here quite early, aren't you?" My answer was again, yes. I felt ashamed about being so selfish to commit suicide and I could feel a blush appear on my cheeks. I replied, "When I'm early, does that mean that if it wasn't my time yet? I was expected later than now. Does that mean I have to go back?" The angel said, "That isn't for me to decide. You will soon be in a place where everything will become clear, so you shouldn't be so worried." I answered regarding being worried, "This has been the story of my life." The other angel asked, "Maybe it is time for a change?" "I hope so," I said. The angel said, "There is always hope because this comes from the light that guides us." Then we reached this immense tunnel of light and the angel said, "This is where we will leave you because this is a journey you have to take on your own. Because we are already in the light, we don't have to make this journey with you." I said, "Goodbye, I'll see you soon." One angel said, "Not soon enough, I hope," and they flew away saying, "Don't ever forget who you are and from where you come," and they waved. I waved back at them, turned around, looked at the tunnel and cautiously stepped into it. It felt like I was being drawn into it. I don't remember anything about the tunnel of light except being drawn into it. What I do remember is an edge where my dead family members and other people, who were also very important in my life, were waiting for my arrival. I received so many hugs and kisses. I still feel the warmth of their presence. I talked to each and every one of them. I won't tell exact details about what we discussed because it's between me and them. The bottom line is that it felt extraordinarily good because I had the feeling that I could be myself here and that it was a very warm home. It was a place where everyone was welcome who wanted to be a part and take part in this special place. After the chats, hugs, and kisses, a voice said that it was time for me to go again. I answered that I didn't want to go and that to leave this place would leave a scar. I started crying again because the thought of leaving felt painful. The voice said that I still had a life to live and that this was the right decision to make. Actually, that felt pretty good, him saying that. I asked if I could remember everything so I could pass it on to others. The voice told me that, "In time you will, we will be happy when you tell your story and pass it on so others can pass it as well. Now it's time to go back." I remember I said goodbye to everyone and cried again. I fell over the edge and back into my earthly body again. When I opened my eyes, it wasn't a pretty sight. I will spare you the details of it. I felt sick and lonely, and I don't remember so much as I do today. That was 10 years ago. I think I'm finally ready to write all of this down, so I did. I think I learned my lesson, not that it's time for me to go. I still think that is not for me to decide. I will wait and let God decide for me. I will let Him wager my life between good and wrong and where my place is, in the heavens or somewhere else. I hope by writing this story that place is close to heaven. But still I have to say that the journey I made still follows me everywhere I go. I miss heaven so much, cries, more tears for the water. The warmth, the feeling of being home and finally being with the people who love me the most, the ones I can love back with hugs, and of course, that feeling of being myself no matter what. I still would rather leave Earth. This is what troubles me to most. My journey left a big scar, a scar that I couldn't recommend to anyone. So be careful out there. I hope my story helps people all around the world not to make the decisions I made, because I already made them, and please don't do as I do. Suicide is not the answer. What I write is really true, and I hope it helps people in their journey here on Earth. The last thing I want to say is that when you want to talk to God, don't start with, "Why me?" It will not open up any doors, but rather close them. He's there and He's listening to all of you. You've just got to find the right words. Have a great life.
And we're back. Yeah,
Wow.
there's some few nuggets in there, actually.
Wow, yes. Wow.
So, let's kick it off. Daphne, would you like to start things?
The age frame is one of those common things that is in the stats, is the age. Anyway, he felt after his suicide that time and space, and that he was given 2 coins to use wisely.
Mm-hmm. And never did say what he did with the other coin, huh?
No, exactly.
Huh. Well, I thought it's kind of strange because he starts telling the story of Carry-On. Now, Carry-On is the Reaper, the one that that actually is supposed to carry the soul from
down the river Styx.
this realm down, river Styx to the underworld.
Okay, so he's covering the crossing the river Styx from the different legends out there.
Yeah, it reminds
and a
me
couple
of
of the
that
movies that come
mythology.
to my mind are the Percy Jackson and the new Clash of the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting that
There are
he had that
movies
experience. But
that have that.
the area where he was in this experience was of a great water. A world of water.
I noticed that. His experience was the water. Yeah.
Yeah, and as they was crossing this plain of water, the ferryman pointed up, and he said he had a sense that he belonged there in heaven, and that he knew he had done good and wrong things.
Yeah, and also while they were just cruising along, he said he started really thinking about his life.
Exactly.
And really contemplating things, yeah.
He said, "Why me?" Most people think that, why me? Even in this day and time where we struggle with the things we go through in life that bring us down, we always say, why me? Instead of saying, why me, and looking for answers, ask a different question. Is what he was saying is, you didn't get an answer because you didn't ask the right questions.
Right. And people who usually are led to suicide, they're asking the wrong questions.
Exactly, yeah. So I like the way he said his sole reason, his journey. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I wrote down sole reason and journey.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to back up just a second here.
Sure.
One thing I noticed, I just kind of wanted to comment on is, to me, when it started out, it felt... I didn't really feel a really good, heavenly, pleasant, blissful, it almost to me kind of started out almost darker or more distressful, even though it wasn't.
He
didn't associate it, but I wanted to make a point that he was in this, kind of a darker world. You've got the Reaper coming to take you to the underworld, and the Reaper's pointing up and all, but I wanted to make a comment and compare this to a lot of the NDEs where these people have these hellish
or
experiences, or just very distressful and distressing NDEs. Okay, But it says here, the moment he said, it was just at that moment, he says, "Oh God, I want light." What happened? Bam! All of a sudden, a faint light. We hear this so many times that people have these darker,
Distressing
or
ones.
distressing NDEs, and once they acknowledge the light or acknowledge that they're there out of their own mind, or once they say God or acknowledge that light or something, all of a sudden, bam,
Exactly.
the light
yeah.
appears. I mean, I think that's amazing. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, no, I love the way you brought that out. And yeah, I was writing down other things and I didn't even catch that. So yes, that is beautiful in that, because, even though these experiencers have the distressing ones, there's that beauty of the light, searching, wanting more. That this is not all there is. And then the light is there, the love is there, the pleasantries come.
Yeah, so now the whole scene changes.
Yeah.
He starts going towards the light, but he's got two beings. They are angelic. And so that he had actually a couple of angels that had visited him, and that they actually had lifted him up. And while he was with them, just being in their light and everything, he felt this pure, just light. And so they actually started a conversation with these actual beings. And I think there's some really good, interesting points that they shared with us, through him. Maybe we can break some of those down.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the conversation of that, he said he was crying beautiful tears.
So the first question they asked him was, "Are you actually ready for the journey?"
Into the light.
And he cried and was
They said
filled
it was
with tears.
Beautiful
would you like to comment
tears,
on that?
yeah, beautiful tears. So he had saw that he was so selfish in that act of committing suicide, and that they had told him it wasn't his time.
Yeah, one of the other angels asked him. They said, "You're here quite early."
Yeah.
And that's when he said he thought about the suicide part, and it really started affecting him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another one told him, well, maybe it's time for a change.
Yeah, and also told him that there is always hope, and that this light guides us.
Yeah, and to never, ever forget who you are.
And where you come from.
And where you come from, where you're from.
Wow.
Let's repeat that.
Home.
Exactly. Let's repeat that. I mean, because people really need to understand this, because this is so common in these near-death experiences. Don't forget who you are. All right, let's break down that part. Well, if you're not going to forget who you are, first of all, who are you?
You're not that body back on earth.
Absolutely. Or the one that took its life or whatever. You are way bigger than that. So much more than that.
Exactly. Yes. We are not just this physical form, this flesh suit.
Absolutely. And he also said, and don't forget where you're from.
Yes.
That reinforces that we all came from somewhere and we're all going from somewhere. Not that we just started right here on earth and then we go,
Which
from
reminds
here
me
else.
of my Remember book when I read it. Yes.
Absolutely. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
many of these talk about coming from another existence, another realm into this world. And this is coming from the other side, from the angels
Exactly,
themselves.
yeah, and that's why I love doing these episodes. Is we get these nuggets from the other side. It's not the things that we're experiencing, going through, but the nuggets, the remarks and wisdom that is shared from the angelic and spiritual side of life, which is what we are, is the spirit, a soul. So. And we haven't even gotten to the tunnel effect yet. He's about to approach that.
Yeah, good point. Well, he stepped into the tunnel, okay, and it actually said he was more drawn to it, and that's, of course, in harmony.
And then being drawn through it. And that is so common. It's that sense of it flowing through and pulling
that
you.
energy is being drawn together, So after stepping into it, he noticed that there was an edge. I don't know if you picked up on that. I don't know if that might have been some type of boundary or something. I don't want to really elaborate too much because I don't really know.
Into the tunnel, the light?
Could be,
because
yeah,
he did
absolutely.
go into the light, yeah.
Good point. So when he gets there, what is waiting for him? Family.
His friends and
everyone he's ever known in his life, all of his family. And what do? Man, what did you do that for? Man, I can't believe you committed suicide. Oh, man, why did you? No. What did they do?
Hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses.
Yes.
Felt at home, felt the warmth and the love, felt like myself, felt like,
extraordinarily
there
good.
is no judgment.
Yeah, exactly. The warm feeling of home. But in this place. I love this. I love this. Now, he had just committed suicide.
Right. Keep
He
that
had
in
just
mind
committed
for today's
suicide.
subject.
And what did they tell him? Everyone is welcome here. So I don't care who you are, what you've done. Hitler, anybody, any life form on this earth, they just said in this statement to him, everyone is welcome here.
Yes, in case you guys are interested in the Hitler comment there, we do have episodes on that. Go to the NDE world, and we do have episodes on Hitler and things like that will actually challenge your perspective. From NDE experiences,
And
stuff
this
like
is
not
nug-
our comment.
Yeah, this is
just
nugs from
experiences.
the other side. This is spiritual nugs from them, spiritual wisdom from angels.
Absolutely. So, without getting too far off track, in many cases, I want to bring to everyone's attention, all of these NDE experiences are different. They are catered to the individual, and all the suicides that I've looked at are all different as well. There are hellish. I have read those. We may look into some of those later
Yeah,
and bring
of
them
course.
on because people do experience those types as well. So we're not making any kind of claim that this is how and what
Right.
happens.
Yeah, we've actually had a few of the reviews episodes on the distressing and hellish ones.
Maybe we'll look more into those later on.
Yeah.
Now,
And think about this. There's another common thread coming up. The border. It's time to go. You have to go back.
yeah, and the common response.
I don't want to go.
Nope, don't want to go.
I don't want to go. Don't make me go back.
Cried. He said he cried about leaving.
Yeah.
So, but it changed his life, and the experience was to make him appreciate life and make him understand, hey, why did you do what you did? you
Right.
know?
And the angel, what did he say to him? You still have a life to live.
Which made him happy.
And he cried more. And then when he opened his eyes, he said it wasn't a pretty sight. So he spared us the details of that. But if you don't mind continuing on with that.
Yeah, it was at the point where he asked, actually, can I remember all these things that was being revealed to him? He didn't really go into details, any specifics at that point. He said some of the things he talked to the family about, it's kind of between them.
Right,
didn't
yeah,
really
and
wanna
you hear
share.
that in a lot of these reviews
can't bring
that
it
we
back,
do.
yeah.
Is some of their experiences they don't want to share because it was between them. It was life lessons for them. So not everybody shares every detail of their account. And he said he missed heaven, and also that he was to share his story to help others. And that's what we're here for. We're here as a human race to help others. We're here on this podcast to help others. We are here to help others be enlightened, to grow, to learn to love, to know who you are.
Yeah, so at this point, he said goodbye and still crying. And at this point, he said he actually fell back into his body. And what happens, like we always hear, after being in this blissful state of peace and love, you're back into this, sick. He said he felt sick and lonely and this body and just, so he's crying, full of tears and wanting that experience again. I like how you use that expression, the tears for the water, that like the angel had brought to him, in the beginning.
Yeah, and one of the last remarks he said was, instead of asking why me, because that closes door, he said, find the right words.
Yeah, and
if you want answers.
really the key to it all is that suicide is not the answer.
Exactly.
And like I brought it out, and don't do what I did, like he said. Mm-hmm. And just really be careful out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the overall thing here for people who had loss of a loved one or a friend from suicide is this. Everyone is welcome here, regardless of your religious beliefs, indoctrinations. Everyone is welcome on that side. Because I was taught when I was in religion that, people who committed suicide went to hell.
Or tortured, yeah.
And tortured. So, yeah, these...
And who are you, who are we to even make that call?
Right.
We
These are
don't
nuggets
know.
from the other side. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah. You do not know what's going on through another person's mind.
Right. We're
don't
here on this plane to experience and live and find
And
joy
learn from those
in
experiences.
this. Yeah, to grow as a soul. So yeah.
Yeah, Well, a couple of little things I want to throw in there real quick. I'm seeing it's almost about time to go ahead and wrap things up. Is to just kind of keep in mind this is an individual experience. In a lot of these cases, these people do have to go through their life reviews. I've heard accounts, and feel free to chime in, where these people who had attempted suicide, and we can relate it to those who have actually succeeded with it and carried on through, but we can only go with the stories that are brought back with us. And this story was about where they attempted, suicide and ended up on the other side. And during their life review, they were shown the family that they left behind, and how all that affected everything. And that part hurt them so much, even more than the pain of, what they were going through when they took their life.
Right.
That pain of what they left behind hurt. And they said, I would never, ever contemplate that again.
Exactly,
So we do get some, positive responses and outcomes from these near-death experiences, from these suicides and suicide attempts. However, a lot of them are distressful, a lot of them are darker, and we'll leave those for another episode.
Exactly, yeah. So, everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
Regardless
so you guys,
of your belief system.
Absolutely. Hang in there. Again, Daphne, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and leave one more time with those numbers for our listeners, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Sure. Okay. Once again, those numbers for the crisis text line, which is text chat, is text the word HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and that is available 24/7. The 988 is the quickest number and that's the National Suicide Hotline. And another one is 800-442-HOPE, and that is 4673. So all of these lines are available to you if you are contemplating having battles with depression. This is for survivors of losing someone. So these lines are available 24/7.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. Now, on a closing note, just keep in mind this is such a broad subject, and we intend on doing more podcasts in the future. More specifically, I've got one coming up here in the near future that's actually catered more to the actual survivors of suicide accounts and people. The actual whole episode is going to be catered around how to deal with that actual experience. In other words, how can I cope? How do I deal? How do I get through every day? That's another thing a lot of people are interested in, and we've got
survival. Surviving suicide.
The after effects,
right.
When this stuff happens. So look out for that one as well.
We're
looking forward to sharing that with you guys as well.
Yes.
So, well, I guess we have to go ahead and maybe wrap things up because of the time here. We do have our time restrictions. So with that thought in mind, we love you all so much, and may peace be with you all. And until next time,
y'all always let your light shine.
For information about the NDE World Podcast, visit nde.world. That's nde.world.